What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. After Sound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, another week, another Monday in the books, another town hall down, and we have, as per usual, the 5 biggest takeaways from this most recent town hall. So for those who might be new to the channel, those who might be new to this series, every week or whenever there's a town hall, I will not do a summary, so this is not a summary, but just the 5 things that kind of stuck out to me that I wanted to share or pass along with you in this video. Now, there are usually some awesome written and video content creators. I actually usually use the Splinterlands official kind of written summary as a guide here, but they haven't posted it yet, and people have been messaging me asking when I'm going to post this video, so I'm waiting for that. People are waiting for me. I figured, you know what, I might as well just go ahead and record it. So I will share with you here my 5 biggest takeaways, and there's some bonus things that I'll just mention at the end. And the reason that I like using theirs is because they have all the nice eye candy and everything that we need, and if there's any specific points, I can go in and kind of extrapolate on them. But we will work with what we have to get this out in as soon as possible to you guys, I suppose. So 5 biggest takeaways. There was quite a bit. Matt was on this town hall. It was very exciting, very interesting. We got quite a bit of alpha on land. We got some interesting stuff on guilds. We have some interesting things on rebellion, ECR. We're going to cover all of it now. So number 1, to start right off the bat, multi-element summoners. Now, I am going to go to the Discord here because Nate did share some eye candy. So you can see here, now this is not what they will actually look like. This is just what they had mocked up together for playtesting, internal playtesting, to see if it worked, how it worked, make sure that they could actually test it. And essentially, in the future, I don't know if it's going to be Rebellion or whatever the case is. It sounds like it's being worked on for Rebellion. They want to have multi-element summoners. So you'll be able to come in, play a summoner that will be able to pull from 2 different sets of monsters. And Matt did say, like, you know, these would be not as strong as their counterparts, right? Their single element counterparts. So, you know, again, not that this is any reference that we should take, you know, fully, but you know, if it was just a summoner, like if it was a 4-mana summoner, and it looks like a legendary summoner at that, but a 4-mana summoner that could pull from 2 different elements, I don't think it needs to have buffs or debuffs. Like that alone is quite strong, because the amount of combos and synergies and all different kinds of meta shifts that would happen because of that would be insane and awesome, right? Like it would add so much value to the game without making these summoners super OP. And it wouldn't devalue the older summoners, because then it's like, well, like here's a game or a rule set where like I really need to use Immortalis, or I really want to use just Kelia, or I really want to use blah, 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 right? So whatever the case is, you know, if they go with this and they're not as powered up, I think it's a really cool idea. Obviously, it's like an evolution of the game. It is a shift in the game infrastructure, which I think Matt has talked about. He says, the way that he explained it is, you know, every pack release or every new set release has just introduced some new abilities and new cards. And so they really want to change the dynamic of the game overall. And I think that this is actually a fantastic way to do that. So it's exciting. You know, Rebellion is hopefully going to come out sometime this year. And, you know, until then, though, this is some pretty cool alpha. Now, the other eye candy that I'll share with you here was something that Nate shared as well. And you can see, you know, you got these guys on both sides. And this one is, I think, white and green, and then green and red. And you can see that there's, you know, ridiculous kinds of combos that you can throw in, right? With Krons and Magnors on the same team, Flore and Darius and, you know, Corsair Boost. Like, again, it's exciting. I'm really looking forward to it. And obviously that's way down the line, but it's cool to see the kind of bigger picture of what they would like to do with Rebellion down the line and how they want to expand the gameplay in quite a dramatic way. So I thought that was really cool. I want to share it here with you guys. And again, that was awesome. So number 2, the reason I paused there was because I'm like, it's only number 1 because they talked about it right away. These are not in, excuse me, these are not in any specific order. I would say that the ECR overhaul, which is the number 2, is probably bigger news in many ways. ECR is something that we have been complaining about for a very long time. And there was some eye candy shared here, so I will pull this up. But the way that Matt is looking at things when it comes to ECR is he says ECR is this super complicated way of like determining your rewards, it goes down by a percentage of whatever the percent is, right? It's 1% of whatever your current ECR is at. And then it also determines your rewards and how much you can earn. So the more you play, the less you earn. And it's just, again, it's super complicated. And while I do think that there are certain elements of the game that should be complicated, I agree with him in the sense that something like ECR should be very easy to understand. Like, people should be able to come into the game, play, and it's just like, all right, I have 50 energy, for example, right? I can play 50 battles and then go and rest my account. So again, we don't have all the details on this. There's supposed to be a post coming out by the end of the quarter, so hopefully sometime in March. But this isn't. Here's another overhaul that was nowhere on the roadmap. Another update. So this to me is just stuff like this is awesome, because it's like, man, they're working on all this cool stuff. It's not even on the roadmap. And I'm not saying that it's taking away from land or it's taking away from other things. Obviously, they're working hard on getting all the other aspects of land and all the other things on the roadmap out. But where they can try to massage the game a little bit better to make it easier, the whole new player experience and all that. I think that it's awesome, right? So we've seen, at least in my opinion, we've seen nothing but really great development over the first 2 months of the year, which make me excited for the rest of 2023 and beyond. But getting back to this specifically, again, this is just a screenshot. So, Nate and Matt were both very clear to say it's just an idea. Nothing is set in stone. But for example, if you have like 50 energy per day, you'd be able to go in and essentially play 50 battles, right? And you wouldn't get dinged the more you play, where like, oh, when I'm on my 49th battle, all of a sudden I'm earning half of my rewards. It's just like, well, no, you would earn the max amount of rewards, and then that would be boosted or nerfed based on any bonuses you had or any like low level cards or whatever the case is, or starter cards. But it would just make ECR so much easier. A new player could come in. They don't have to understand it. It's just simple. It's just like, I have X amount of energy that I can use. Let me go ahead and start playing. I get my next energy point in this much time, right? Like, so again, it's simple. I like it. I hope that they can implement it sooner rather than later, especially if we do get an influx of newer players with Chaos Legion selling out, hopefully sometime this month. I shouldn't say hopefully, it will sell out sometime this month, or Burnout. So, again, I'm really excited about this. I was talking, shout out to Darkest Night. I was talking to him about it. I was like, man, I feel like they made this thing for you, because he used to play the game and just grind all the way down to like 0% ECR. And obviously he realized that as much as he loved playing, it was detrimental for him, because he was winning all these games, playing all these battles at at such a low ECR that he barely won any chests, right? On the daily, on the season. And so it's just like, well, it's actually disincentivizing me to play, and let the bot play, and just let the bot play at, an ECR of 99%, so that it's constantly earning, or maxing out the rewards. Well, now you don't have to worry about that. You can go in and play X amount of times per day, and then not worry about your rewards being, dwindling over time. On top of this, and this is the last thing I'll say, Matt also did say that there will potentially be an opportunity to burn DEC or pay with credits to refill your ECR once a day, or maybe not refill it, but add to it, right? Once a day. So if you wanted to play more battles, you could go in and burn burn some DEC or spend some credits, whatever the case is. And, that's something that people have been asking for a while. And I think that with this new kind of system, it's not that it makes more sense than it did before. It probably makes it easier if they're doing a whole overhaul on the ECR. So at this point, I think it's a great idea. Obviously, Matt said they need to be cognizant and of what amount should be appropriate at each of the different levels. Like, it shouldn't be the same amount for people playing in bronze that want to reset their ECR versus diamond or champ, right? Because the rewards are just so much higher. So therefore the cost should be higher too. So I worry about that in the sense that, can it be exploited? Absolutely. But if it also brings more engagement in the game and it doesn't break the game or it doesn't break the economy, I'm all for it. Because if people need to burn DEC, or if they're going to spend credits, bring more money into the game, like, boom, I'm all in for it, right? I want people to play more, and by playing more, I want them to be rewarded more, and I want the economy to be put in a better position. So if we can get that, if we can get all the stars aligning on that, and it seems like the team is working really hard to figure out how to design that appropriately, I'm all in for it. So that's really, really exciting. Okay, number 3. Well, apparently guild alliances are canceled. And I know I'm phrasing it this way, but in a way, The alternative plan, which they're moving forward with, sounds better, sounds faster to implement, and I'm still just as excited about it. Now, what do we mean by guild alliances canceled? Well, the way that Matt explained it was, if they're going to create a brand new, like, guild alliances would essentially be this brand new system, right? It would be this whole thing where you have a bunch of guilds coming together. Creative would need to put up together a bunch of different assets. The development team would have to create new pages, essentially, where it's just like, here's your guild and then here's your guild alliance, right? So it'd be like essentially doubling whatever they have out there already. So he said, instead of doing that, they're looking at expanding guilds in very specific ways. So the first of which is to add certain buildings, and then bring other elements like using vouchers on some of those buildings, maybe staking Rooney on some of those buildings. I don't know if they're staking monsters too, but it would essentially accomplish the same thing, where if you could bring, or get more buildings per guild, and then, or even add levels, right? So for example, the town hall, maybe it only goes to level 10 right now, but maybe they increase it to like level 12, and all of a sudden you go from like 30 people in a guild to a max of 35 or 40 people. So if they can just expand upon that and make guilds bigger, right, slowly over time, I'm all for it. I think that's great, and it sounds like they're very much still in the idea phase, but the time frame for this would still be Q2, which is when guild alliances were planned for. So if we start to get this stuff in, and it's faster, it's easier for the team, and it doesn't. The thing with guild alliances, they sounded great, but a part of it was like, okay, well, there's this kind of like hesitancy with people's places in guilds right now. If it's not your guild, or if you're not considered a leader, like, you can just be booted. And so I felt like that problem was only going to get bigger if you like leveled up essentially into guild alliances, where it's now like, well, if the leader guild of a guild alliance decided that they didn't want to deal with one of the feeder guilds inside of it, well, they can just boot them, and then all of a sudden you lose everything. So in that vein, they're also rethinking how to make guilds a little more, I'm going to call it Web3, right? It's not necessarily Web3 because you don't have ownership, but we are getting to a point where you don't lose everything just by being in a guild, and you are not as vulnerable. So what do I mean by that? Well, you go in and you essentially can donate or contribute DEC. Now that DEC gets burned, right? So it's not like if you leave or if there's an issue, it can become unburned and then given back to you. But what people are worried about, and I think it's a legitimate fear, and the reason that people don't contribute to guilds maybe as much as they could or want to, is the simple fact that, like, well, if I get kicked out, if right now things are gravy, but if I get kicked out, or if I piss off the guild leader or something, or their best friend wants to join and they're looking for a spot and they just boot me, I lose everything, right? I lose all the contribution that I gave. So what Matt talked about was contribution points, and that's not going to be like a Web3, a new token thing, but it will still offer the ability. And let's say it's 1-to-1, right? Every contribution point is 1-to-1 with the amount of DEC that you burn in a guild. Well, now that contribution point is tied to your account. And if you were to ever leave or get removed from the guild, you could take those contribution points and bring them to another guild, right? Whether you start your own, you join another one, you can bring them as contribution points to another guild. And the guild that you left or got kicked out of would lose those contribution points. So now you have a lot of ownership and pseudo stake in what you spend in a guild. And I think that is huge. It's not fully Web3, but it solves a lot of the problems now where people who are hesitant to spend a ton of money in a guild, if they're not the leaders or if they're not friends with the leaders, that now it's just like, well, the risk is gone. Like, let's burn a ton of DEC, and if I get kicked out of here, well, now all of a sudden I become a free agent, right? And I'm just like, hey, I got a million DEC burn, a million contribution points. Who wants to take me, right? So I like that idea. I think it's going to be great, and I'm very much looking forward to guilds kind of taking that next step in Q2. Okay, number 4. We have tech modernization. So PJ, who's the CTO, was on, and I don't know if this is the first town hall he's been on, but it was good to see him talk, and obviously Investigator was on there as well. So they're saying that tech modernization is currently about 35% complete. So and PJ actually used a term. He said, the last 20% is going to feel like 80% because they've probably taken out a lot of the low hanging fruit right now. And we've seen in a lot of the previous updates that they've been, doing single pages that they've moved from, the old system to the new tech modernization template, right? So obviously there's still a lot to be done. 35%, I will say, was a little surprising to me because, tech modernization was something that I think we were expecting to be done last summer, at least on the first roadmap where it was mentioned. But at the same time, it's like, okay, this is a big project, and ultimately it will get the game into a better place. I think one thing people can look forward to with tech modernization is once it is there or close to being done, the idea of a better mobile experience will be a viability too. And what I mean by that is, like, everybody wants better mobile app. And I think the team's just going to avoid that completely, obviously, because of the 30% tax from both the Apple and Google store. But if the mobile experience can be way better, right, where you just go into the website and it feels and plays well, then I'm all, it's, to me, that accomplishes like 80% of the goal. So that's where tech modernization is. I just wanted to share that number with you because it's the first time we've ever heard what type of progress has been made on tech modernization. And again, like I said, it's surprisingly low in the sense that we kept hearing that we couldn't get land until tech modernization, but we've already started to get certain elements of land. So I think the team is kind of doing these things in parallel, where it's just like, all right, let's get tech modernization done on such and such pages, and then we'll move those pages forward to start developing. So it seemed like land was a big part of that, and now they're going to move towards the rest of the website and the rest of the game, hopefully. So that's it on tech modernization. Hopefully we'll hear more about that as we go along. And then number 5, last one, we heard a lot of info, got a little bit more information on land. And there were a couple of things I mentioned in our video yesterday as well. But land surveying, we already know they're trying to get it done by Q1, and it sounds like it's still very much on track for that. So March should be exciting from a land and a DEC burning perspective. But also starter packages. Now, I knew that starter packages were part of the survey process, but this is the first time we got confirmation of that. And so, I mean, if you're going to use any of the things in the starter package, which is up to like 4.5 billion DEC, if all land uses all 3 things, that has to be done before you survey your land. So surveying is going to go live, and I don't know how many people are going to be surveying right away, but the idea that we can start to burn through significant amounts of DEC next month is actually really, really exciting. Now, I don't think that I think land is going to be very slow, and until there is an incentive to actually start developing your land, or surveying, then developing, and then staking monsters on your land, we're not going to see that right now. We've been told that at least the first part is going to be available in March, and then they're going to work through, phase 1.5 and staking monsters on your land and all that in Q2. And I think the big part of that to incentivize people is going to be working your land in order to earn the SPS. So it's just not passively being airdropped to you anymore. So, I don't, March could be exciting for many reasons, right? We get the end of Chaos Legion, we get the start of land, but ultimately I think it is going to be a slow burn that will start to pick up more momentum in Q2. Now, again, this is not, I'm not trying to FOMO anybody in and say like, oh, get your stuff right now. Obviously there's enough people out there, and Aggie is the chief FOMO officer, so I'm going to leave that to him. But it is something to think about because it's right around the corner. And for someone like me, who's not a big landowner, but wants to make sure that I have a good amount of land, like I think I will be starting to buy more DECB, at least enough to get my 2 land plots a good starter package. I don't know if I'm going to get all 3 of them because that'd be 60,000 DEC, but I do want to start collecting in order to make sure that I can at least get maybe 1 to 2. I want to get the building and then maybe the time crystals. We'll see. The other thing that was new alpha on land, which again is going to be another massive DEC sink, is in order to stake monsters on your land, you need to stake DEC. So you're not burning DEC, but you actually need to put DEC into your land or stake it on your land in order to put the, astral projection of the monster so that it can actually work. Again, there's a whole lore element to this, which I'm sure we'll hear more about. But with that being said, the number that Matt threw out was 10K DEC per monster, which 10K DEC per monster if it's max. And of course, if you're going to put a monster on your land, you probably want it to be max. So I would assume most of them, not all, but a good amount of them will be max or close to max. So again, you do the quick math on that. 150,000 land plots, 50,000 plots, 50,000 DEC per land, right? 10,000 per monster, 5 slots. All of a sudden, I mean, we're looking at 7.5 billion DEC. There's not even 7.5 billion DEC in circulation. Now, the important thing with this is that you're not burning the DEC. So this could be a huge thing to like get a bunch of DEC back into circulation. And if for any reason people lose interest with land, or a major whale like decides that they want to sell out, they'll remove all of that and just like dump DEC on the market potentially. But we're not going to worry about that for right now. I still think that this is a good way to get usage for DEC to start earning SPS once that goes live. And ultimately, even though I'm a small landholder, I am excited for what they have, because land is not just going to be I don't want to say set it and forget it, but I think there's going to be so much more involved with it, where it's like, okay, I'm earning my SPS for free right now. In a couple months, I'm going to stake monsters, or survey my land, stake some monsters, and then I'll keep on earning that SPS. And then, it's not until Q3, Q4, whenever land phase 2 actually comes out or is completed, that we get like all the resources and all that. I think what they're trying to do is make it more exciting. They have this whole secret of Praetoria that you'll be able to start working on. There's the idea of infinite staking. So there will be some land plots where you might you might want to choose to stake more monsters, which means that 7.5 billion DEC is not capped, because it's like, well, if I want to stake as many monsters as possible on like certain land types, maybe there's like a special magic dragon land type where you can get some certain resources, or you can get more SPS, or whatever the case is from that. You just start staking monsters, and you're not limited to 5, but for each monster, it's got to be another 10K, another 10K, another 10K. Well, all of a sudden we start seeing way more DEC eaten up off the market. So, ultimately, I find it exciting. I if you can't tell, Papa Bear has become much more bullish over the past couple of weeks or months since the beginning of the year. And I am excited to see what summer will look like. We are now 2/3 of the way through Q1. Q1, I think, still has some exciting things ahead. And ultimately, I think Q2, we could get into this whole summer of Splinterlands again, where we get a lot of exciting changes. But so far, it's been a lot of fun. Okay, I've been rambling on way too long with this video already, so let's go ahead to the bonus items. Season rentals and league rating points, that is getting released with the 228 release date or maintenance window, so keep an eye out for that. That is really exciting. There is a WASDR partnership that Chatter mentioned. This is like a social, I just checked it out briefly, but I'm curious to know if you are on it or aware of it. It's like a social Web 2, Web 3 kind of gaming platform. And so that could be interesting, because if there's a partnership there, I think they have like 100,000 users. Again, it could be good for us, but I also wonder if, like, not to bring people in, but maybe that's something that we as a community should check out. If there's good community management, community connection tools, I think that'd be kind of cool. Splinterlands TV, FOMO February is coming to an end, but Monster March is just around the corner. It looks like they're going to keep all of the hype and FOMO in. It sounds like there's going to be like up to five like cards given away during streams, so that's exciting. And then this was not in the actual stream, but in the Discord town hall chat, Matt mentioned, and he didn't say this, I know I'm saying no more cue cards, but he did say, and I think they took the feedback on Lily Shieldpaw's artwork being too cute and Dragon Summoner and all that. I think they took it to heart, and they took that feedback in. And Matt said that moving forward, any player designed cards will no longer will have to abide by, like, it'll have to fit the lore of what the element is, right? So something like a dragon, if you're going to be doing the Dragon Summoner, you're going to have to do some kind of dragon related theme or monster, or not monster, but dragon related character to make it make sense. Now, I've talked about this privately in chats with other people, where I'm just like, there is space for these cute characters, right? Someone like a Byzantine Kitty, someone's like a Lily Shieldpaw. I would see them fitting well with something like nature, or maybe even life, right? Where you can have like a little bit more cutesy, a little bit more nature, or a little bit more, again, nature and life would probably be the areas that I would put them in. So there is a space for that. But ultimately, I think what people are just upset about is, if you like the Dragon Splinter, well, now we have a cat and we have a red panda for the last two core sets. So again, I thought that was interesting. They're taking the feedback to heart, and obviously we can't change anything now. Hopefully we get some skins for Lily Shieldpaw, but for all the people who are asking, I personally don't care, but I know a lot of people are hoping that they can get some kind of skin for it. But ultimately, I think that this will hopefully be corrected in the future. And then I actually don't have it listed out here, but one thing that was mentioned that we can potentially expect for March is the promo card. So that is on the roadmap, but there's also this was in context from the proposal that was passed. And so I don't know if they're just going to combine it, or like the team isn't going to do one, but they're going to do it now for the proposal itself. But they did mention that they're going to try and get something out for March. So if they do, that'd be cool. Again, that's within the next 4 weeks. So I have no idea, but I've already rambled on long enough. So I will catch you all in the next video and see you around the game. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. We'll continue the conversation there. Have an amazing rest of your day. Take care.